Hi everyone, and welcome to the video today. Thanks for joining me on the channel, and I really do appreciate your joining me today and all your comments and thumbs up and subscriptions. Really appreciate it. And don't forget to hit the old like button and the subscribe button and all that good stuff. First and foremostly, I hope that you're all doing okay out there. We are living in very strange times and things are not getting too great over here in the UK. And it looks like we might be going into another lockdown. But besides that, no matter what life throws at us, we've still got the old model railway hobby, and I think that's what, for those of us out there that are into model railways, and certainly for me as a model railway enthusiast, builder, collector and general railway enthusiast in general, it's one of the things that keeps me strong. Second is my faith, and secondly is, you know, having an interest and a hobby and something to do. Anyway, I hope that you're all safe and well. That's my message to you today, that you're all safe. And once again, thanks for joining me on the channel. Now, it's not often that I get something new for the railway. For lots of people out there, they may be able to afford to buy a couple of models a month or a couple of models a week or whatever. But at the moment, I'm not financially in a position to do that. But when it does present itself as an opportunity to buy something for the layout, it's always a joyous occasion. It certainly is for me anyway. Now, from what I'm about to show you, there's loads and loads of videos on YouTube about the item I'm going to show you. And some of them might be better than this video you're watching, some of them, you know, you might find different. But this is my take on it, and it's my take as mentioned, so I hope that you enjoy it, and I hope that you enjoy the video in general. Anyway, as mentioned, when I get something new for the layout, it's always a joyous celebration, and that's definitely the occasion today. As earlier this month it was my birthday, and I didn't really get that much for my birthday in terms of what I wanted. I'm strangely, I don't know about you out there, but I'm strangely one of these people that even though people know the sort of things I'm into, I get the exact opposite given to me for Christmas on my birthday. Not being ungrateful, but often these things land up on eBay because I don't have no use for them, and they're the completely opposite of what I wanted for a gift or as a present. Nice thought, but you know, if someone's into model railways or trains in general, you know, buy someone a book or something related. But anyway, that's besides the point. Maybe I sound ungrateful. If I do, apologies. So what I'm going to show to you today is something that I've had my eye on for a long while, but again, never got round to buying one. So the opportunity presented itself recently, and I will show you what I got. It's one of these. It's a Hornby early Franco Crosti boiler 9F, the heavily weathered edition from Hornby. Now, being a model railway enthusiast, collector and builder, it's only fair to say that I do favour the Hornby brand quite a lot, because this year being the 100th, I think it's the 100th year anniversary of Hornby, the brand always, as a model railway enthusiast and certainly collector and builder, Hornby stands out a mile for me. It's got many long stories and many associations with early memories of Hornby. As a child, Hornby was the #1 brand that I recognised. As soon as I was old enough to recognise what model trains were about, Hornby was the household name for me in the 1970s. Hornby was the train set I always saw in the toy shops, and the thing that I always wanted the most for Christmas, and in Christmas 1980 that's what I got. Anyway, Hornby, and along with other brands like Bachmann and Joe F, Lima, V-Trains, Helgen or Hellian, however you want to pronounce it, Daypole and all that stuff, good stuff, make some great items. But this, today, I want to take out the box and show you, because I'm really impressed with this. When I saw it on the website, I didn't actually realise it was a Hornby Railroad range model. No idea, because when I actually looked at it, and then even more so when I actually physically got it and took it out of the box recently and had a look at it, I thought, my goodness, for a railroad range model, they really have come up with something absolutely really cool. It's one of those things where it's got enough detail on it, but at the same time there's loads of scope to super detail one of these if you want to add extras. But I'm going to get this out of the box today and show you. So obviously it's a railroad range model from Hornby. Obviously nice box, but we don't do boxes, we do what's inside. So I'm just going to stop this for a moment and then we'll get this out on the table and we'll have a good look at it, okay? So go and get yourself a cup of tea, coffee, beverage of your choice, whatever floats your boat, and join me in a few moments, okay? Okay, so I've taken it out the box and we've got the polystyrene tray. You get a little plastic protective insert over the top, and you've got this nice piece of protective wrapping material that protects the actual Loco. So I'm just going to, the way I do this normally is at the back of these boxes, just out of interest, there's two holes, 1, 2, and what they're designed for, you put your fingers through there and push the model out. You never ever ever, especially for the younger viewers watching this, if you ever get one of these models or a model with a box like this, you never ever ever take it out like that. Never pull it out with your fingers from the tray, because what you'll do is you'll end up breaking things off on there and you won't be a happy chappy. So what I normally do is I put my hand over the box like that, turn it over, and then from the other side push through the holes like that to remove the product, and there we are on the table. Now that is a lovely model. Let me take this off the tripod. Apologies for those who are feeling seasick. We're going on helicopter mode, folks. If I can get it out. That darn thing. There we go. Right, that's better, isn't it? Right, let's have a look at this in detail. So this, oh look at this, this is absolutely stunning. Now this is the heavily weathered, as mentioned, Crosti boiler 9F from Hornby and their railroad range, and like I said, straight off the bat, if you look at this Loco, we'll start at the smoke box end. It's got so much detail on it. Loads of nice pipework on there along the boiler. Separately fitted handrails. All the running gear is all weathered, and it really is a lovely thing. Glazed cab windows, as you can see. Along the top of the boiler there's loads of detail. Safety valves there, separately fitted. But what makes these Locos unique, I've brought down some other 9F models that I'm going to show you in a bit. But if I just rotate this on the table here, have a look at this. What makes this unique is that this part here, the smoke deflector, is, if you can see above there, there's an exhaust chimney. And the thing that made the Crosti boilers very unique and very strange looking is that instead of blowing all the smoke out of the chimney conventionally up here, smoke box end, British Railways decided to design a method called the Crosti boiler, which emitted all the smoke and vent out the side of the Loco here. And the strange thing about the Loco is not only did it look weird by having the chimney and everything puffing out of this area instead of the front, you could imagine looking at the cab if the fireman or driver was this side, and there's the front window for the driver to look out down on the boiler ahead and see what's going on in front of the drain. His view would not only be immensely blocked by smoke coming out of this, but also I would imagine the cab would be filled with a lot of aqueous smoke and soot and everything coming out of that chimney, rather than it being up the front. Like I said, it was bellowing and bilging out this end. So that would have been very interesting, I'd imagine, from the footplate side to have that right near the cab. And it's no wonder that between 1959 and 1962, 10 of these Crosti boiler Locos were reconverted between 1959 and 62 back to conventional 9F chimneys and boilers. It's no surprising with that. And I think the idea was that the British Railways Board felt that this Crosti boiler thing was going to slightly improve the Loco's performance and also give it somewhat fuel efficiency. Now, bearing in mind the 9F obviously is a coal-stoked Loco, to me why interfere with something that works well? Because when these actually came out, these on British Railways were designed for heavy freight work, but because they were so successful in terms of steaming and performance, they actually put them on passenger workings and tried them out, and they found these Locos really did very well in hauling passenger trains. One of the famous trains that the 9Fs used to pull was the Pines Express. Very successful, but for some strange reason British Railways came up with this idea, the Crosti boiler, to try out. It's a foreign invention, I believe, and in places like Italy they've still got a few steam Locos with the Crosti boiler arrangement like this. But I think on the 9F it makes it look a bit odd, but at the same time it does make it look also very unique, a bit like the old what's it now, the southern regions, the Q1s. Bulleid's Q1s were considered very ugly. They were nicknamed ugly ducklings because of the war effort. If you look on Google at the southern region Q1s, Bulleid's design was very basic, and it had no looks or appearance to it. It was just very functional, and that was it. And I think the same was with this 9F. But having said that, I know I'm rambling on a little bit, but these are really super Locos. I'm just going to pause the video a minute here, and I'll just put the lights on above to give us a little bit more lighting. That's better, isn't it? Right, so moving on the Loco on this side, you can see there's so much detail on this. I mean, like I said, for a railroad range model, I'm again quite surprised. I mean, I've got lots of railroad range models from Hornby from the past, but it's funny because if you're a follower of Hornby models anyway, on the railroad range brand, incidentally, their first ever railroad range model that Hornby ever released a few years ago was a 9F, and even at the time it was a very nice model. But this has really gone up a scale in terms of detail. I mean, look at all the stuff on this Loco you can look at. It's really lovely. At the same time, there's no fiddly bits on here that, with reasonable handling and care from a younger generation, it's going to break off. They're quite robust models, but obviously not designed to be slung about and handled roughly. But I mean, if you're one of these people out there that like nice models but hate the fiddly bits that keep snapping off in the box, and when you pick it up you're frightened to touch it because it snaps, this is probably a model for you. It's quite an old model, it's not a relatively new model, but like I said, I haven't had this model before, so I really am pleased I've got it. And I love the weathering detail on this. This is the heavily weathered edition, and what I like about it is the tender. It's got the different type of tender on it. If you look at the weathering job on this, it's fantastic. Look at that. Love it. It's really lovely. And look at the coal load on top as well. I mean, that's even more impressive. It's got 2 sections of coal on there because it's a big engine, it needs loads of coal. So I love that. If I just gently turn this around to the camera, we can look at also the rear of the tender there. You've got a set of steps there. Nice bit of weathering on the buffer beams and on the shanks of the buffers. Really nice. And this Loco is fitted with NEM pocket couplings. Let's bring it round that way. It's right, there's a huge chunk of polystyrene in the cab, just to protect the Loco. There's, believe it or not, there's not much footplate detail on there, unfortunately. and these roof vents on top don't actually slide back and forth like a super detailed model, but we don't care about that. But obviously there's scope in there to put a driver and fireman and Loco crew on the footplate, no problem. And it's got glazed windows as well, as you can see. But again, the eye picks up so much detail around this area. Look at this. I'll bring the camera in so you can have a look at this properly. Isn't that lovely? Look at that. This is a railroad range model, folks. I mean, look at the weathering on that, and look at the detail as well. It's a lovely model, and I haven't actually run this model. It has never been run. I've just taken out the box purely to show you today in the video, but I've not had a chance to run it. I've had it for 3 days and yet I haven't run it yet, so it hasn't been running. So in the next part of the video you will see her running on the railway. So that's the Loco from the top and the side view, and I'm just going to gently flip her over onto her side so we can have a look underneath the belly, as it were. And there's not much to see, so I'll bring the camera around and you can have a look. But as you can see, one of the things that struck me with this model, and again I'm going to show you in a minute with the previous 9Fs I've got another Hornby Railroad range 9F, but this is the conventional 9F standard edition, and the earlier one didn't have this. This is a permanently connected system between the tender and between the Loco. There's a plug and pin connection, as well as a drawbar that's got the screw attached to it in there. Now you'd find this arrangement, you'd find this arrangement on the more expensive Hornby models. If you've got a Hornby, I don't know, for example, a Hornby B17 for example, they're quite expensive, but most Hornby tender Locos that are the super detailed expensive range, they generally have this kind of arrangement with the permanently connected drawbar and the plug and pin connection. And that's very unusual for a railroad range model. I was quite expecting the tender just to drop in the conventional hole like the old style Hornby and Triang models, but this is absolutely really top end. And look at these lovely wheels underneath. From a scale perspective, they're the right ones. Really nice. Lubrication wise, we'll go on to that in a minute, but underneath there I just wanted to show you this unique coupled system that Hornby have put on this railroad, and I'll keep saying on about it, but I mean I'm really superly mega impressed with Hornby for doing this upgrade on this model. It's really good, and it's going to ensure reliability when running on your layout as well, whether you've got a big layout or a small layout. When it goes over point work, it's going to ensure excellent 100% connection and connectivity between the track and the wheels as it goes over any dead spots, i.e. the plasticky bit in the section of points called a frog, or as we used to call it on the P-way, a nose on the crossing. But yeah, there we go. Okay, so what I've done here, I've just lined up the other two 9Fs that I was talking about. Obviously the new latest one, the Crosti boiler one, is instantly recognisable, having no smoke deflectors on the front, which is the one on the far left, which is this one we just looked at. And the one next door to it is its sister engine from Hornby Railroad range. Again, this one's the proper 9F with the double chimney on top and the smoke deflectors, and this is the one that it's a special model, not only because it's the first ever steam locomotive that Hornby Railroad range ever issued, was their 9F, which is the model you're looking at here, but also it was the first model that I ever ventured into weathering. So this is one that I weathered myself, and you can see the difference in design as well. I mean, for example, look at the tender. That's got the Riddles tender on the back, and it's got the later BR crest, whereas the Crosti boiler one, it's got the earlier line and wheel logo on the side of the tender. and also the tender design is different. But again, the first Hornby Railroad range model came with glazing in the cab and everything else on it, and mine I've just really heavily weathered with an airbrush and hand weathering and powders and bits and pieces. But moving on the end of the road there is the Bachmann 9F, which is weathered, factory weathered, and this is quite a nice model as well. But again, you can see that's got real coal in the tender, and there's less coal in that one. Both have got the Riddles type tender though for that one. So what I like about it is with these three 9Fs, I've got two conventional 9Fs, as you can see, one from Bachmann, one from Hornby, and then we've got the new Hornby Crosti boiler, and I think that makes an excellent lineup and certainly a great addition to my motive power stud stable on the layout. But don't they look great? And if you're thinking about maybe getting one of these Crosti boiler 9Fs, they are available. Certainly I got mine from Amazon, that's where I picked mine up from, quite a reasonable sum of money. And if you like it and you ain't got one, maybe you should have a look. Anyway, so there's our lineup. Look at that. Very, very good. And I say it's good to have something different. Like as mentioned before, I like the tender on this. This is really eye-catching, the tender. It looks almost like a Stanier tender, very similar. There we go. Okay, I've got something else to show you. So if you need to go for a bathroom break or stop this or pause it, now's the time to do it. Right, okay. So moving on to the next items that I managed to pick up the other day. These are really I'm very pleased with, and they're an excellent addition to the existing rolling stock I've got. I managed to get some of these. These are the Hornby LMS Clerestery suburban coaches, and these are quite rare. As mentioned in my last video, I've already got two of these already, but I wanted to get another couple to make up a 4-car, so I got that one there, and this one also came from the well-known auction site that we know and love. In the box, this one is quite nice, and just out of reference for all you catalogue buffs out there, it's listed as R385 LMS brake third coach Clerestery from Hornby, and this would have been about the 1980s by the boxing style. This is definitely the early 80s, sort of 82, 83 I would imagine. Don't quote me on that, but I'm sure someone will. But yeah, don't know quite why the cotton pads are in there. I'm supposed to cushion it, but I'm not going to use those, don't worry. Although I suppose I could use those to clean the Locos and do something with them cleaning wise. Anyway, just get out of the box shall we and have a little look. The box is in decent condition. I'm not really a box fanatic, but it's nice when you buy things that are boxed and they're in a reasonable condition to look after the model when they're not in use, because I'm a person that puts things away. I can't stand leaving rolling stock and Locos out of the layout for weeks and months on end because they get bloody dusty. And whether you pay a couple of pennies or a good sum of money, you should always look after your stuff. Anyway, so this is the brake third version, and obviously it's got the gauze compartment at the end there, and they're just lovely, aren't they? They really are nice. And again, one of the things that I'm starting to get into in terms of model railways now is I'm starting to go for the old Margate made stuff from Hornby. I've got stuff made. I've got loads of stuff that's made in China, the more modern stuff, and obviously Bachmann and bits and pieces. But I'm starting to really find a great attraction to the the earlier Hornby stuff, the Margate made stuff, because it is really unique. It's a part of our history, not only in Great Britain as people, but I think it's like the household name of Hornby belongs up there with Rolls-Royce, the Merlin engine for the Spitfire, all the great iconic British things that make England so absolutely smashing. I think so anyway. You might have a different opinion, but to me, if someone said to me, what do you think, what are one of the great brands that make the United Kingdom truly unique and truly British, it would be Hornby, because Hornby have always led the world in terms of model trains. I know in America, not being biased, you've got Lionel and all that stuff, which is, you know, good, but for me, Hornby is what I grew up with. And as I said, being the 100-year anniversary this year of Hornby, it really does showcase how great Hornby, even as early as the 1980s, were putting out absolutely stunning models like this. And I like these because they're just so simple but yet so detailed. And if you look underneath here, if we get the camera zoomed in, it says, if you can pick it up on the camera, I'll try and zoom in. It probably won't let me do this, but I'll have a go. Hornby, made in England, there you go. And that is really why I like collecting these models, because they're Margate made ones. I'm not saying the ones that are made in China are any less, because we've just looked at the Crosti boiler 9F, which is a Chinese made model licensed through Hornby, but the earlier stuff is just really nice, and it's just got a nice vintage appeal to it, and it's just nice. I can't use any other words to describe that, and I'm sure those that are watching out there on this video with me in YouTube land will agree that the earlier stuff has got a certain charm and appeal to it. Even the boxing, I mean, I love the packaging, the earlier retro packaging as well. I've got some Triang stuff upstairs that was given to me by a good friend of mine. That's it's very, very worn, very warped, but it's got a certain appeal to it, and I'm never going to throw it away or trade it because it's got a certain appeal to it. So anyway, my mission is to start looking out for certainly rolling stock and bits and pieces from the Margate era, and I think it's quite sad, really, to be honest with you, why Hornby they cocked up by just putting everything over in China. In my opinion, they should have just kept everything as it was in Margate. But obviously, for different reasons, they chose to rearrange their business and their company plan and all that business, and so that's why it went the way it did. But it was a very, very sad shame, and they had a period of time when Hornby had the wrong management there over the period of years that needed to go. They've now got a chap in called Lyndon Davis, who's the CEO of Hornby. If you go onto the Hornby channel on YouTube, you can check out his there's a little bit of information about Hornby and his background. And he seems, to me, I've never met the guy, obviously. I don't know much about him apart from what I've read or seen in the media, on social media. But he seems a chap that I would trust with the company, and to obviously bring it back to where it needs to be. But as a Hornby enthusiast, collector and builder, I think Hornby will continue to really surpass itself as time comes, hopefully. And I hope that we as railway modelers out there will continue to support Hornby, and whether it's buying brand new products or second-hand products from that well-known auction site, I hope that we'll continue to inspire other people to build model railways, because that's what it's all about. I mean, to be honest with you, people that are looking at this video right now, looking at my layout, looking at stuff that I've done, I look at all your stuff that you've been doing as well. People like St Mary's Church Model Railway, Stuart, shout out to you. Oscar Paisley, amazing fella with the Superforce track stuff, Hornby Triang stuff, who's rebuilding his layout at the moment, actually. Loads of people out there in YouTube, thousands and thousands of people that build model railways in the UK and around the world. We've all been inspired by someone, and I think for me, just to summarise, my interest in model railways is not been so much as to have something to play with, but something to actually build that looks three-dimensional and looks real. And in fact, if you look at the little video that Lyndon Davis put out on the Hornby channel, and I'm digressing a little bit, but he's quite right in that when you build a diorama and you put something in it like a model, whether it's a static or running diorama, like a model railway or just a shelf diorama, it brings it to life. And I think when you start getting things like these carriages and you start putting them behind a nice little tank engine and running them through a little suburban or a little country scene, it brings it to life. And I think that's one of the great appeals about me personally about Hornby over the years, and certainly from the beginning as 1930s. I mean, you think about in the 1930s when technology was very, very basic, and they were, you know, producing these lovely O-gauge clockwork and tin plate models. And then in the 1950s, Hornby 00 with the absolutely unique Hornby 003 rail. Loads of people out there collecting that. But yeah, I mean, Hornby trains in general, they are a fascination for me. I don't know about you watching this video, but whether you're a young person or an old person, or I don't mean that in an offensive way, but whatever generation you're from, Hornby I think is a very unique thing if you're into model railways. It's the foot in the door, I think, into the world of model railways. Everybody gets a train set for their birthday or Christmas at some point, and it just starts to grow on you. You start to build it, and it never ever ends. I mean, my layout upstairs that you've seen on the channel video many times, it's a modestly small layout. It's only 9 foot by 9 by 6, I think. It's built on a full-sized ping pong table, and it's in a very medium to small room in size, but it's never finished. I'm always finding something to do on it, something to add, something to create, something to come up with. So I think my message is, whether it's the Hornby Crosti boiler 9F we just looked at, or it's some simple coaches from eBay or wherever you buy them from, it's the beginning of something big. And I think we should all recognise that as being something unique about our hobby. Anyway, a lot of waffling today, I know, but I just wanted to put my point across, because I think, you know, it's all the things in this world. I mean, certainly all the different types of hobbies you get out there. People are into sort of building radio controlled or static aircraft, people are into collecting dinky cars, people are into different types of hobbies. You know, people go do whatever they do that they're interested in. But I think for the good old model railways, it's been going ever since Frank Hornby came up with the idea of a simple train set, simple model, an oval of track to be set up quickly and taken down quickly. He had something that basically took off in a big way, and I just think it's amazing when I sit and think about how Hornby's changed over the years. Anyway, I'm going to stop this now, and we're going to go and play with some trains. So hopefully you'll see that in the next bit. Thanks for listening to my waffling on, but I just have moments in the hobby, whether I'm sitting behind the layout running it and looking at my trains going around the layout, or tinkering about with locos, cleaning them, restoring them, repairing them, or just sitting looking at models on a table. I just can't help but not think about how far Hornby's come as a company and as an organisation. All the downfalls of the company and all the good things that come out. One of the things that I think really hurt Hornby a lot is sourcing all their production out to China. I know one of the things that I want to quickly mention is about the dreaded Mazut crop, and this is generally found, I think, in the Hornby models. The previous model I think came out. One of the things that I had problems with was if you looked at the Hornby 9F I was on the table earlier with the lineup, the one that I weathered myself, the one I was talking about earlier in that clip. I had to change the tender chassis on that twice because it developed the dreaded Mazakrot, which I found out at a point in time when I thought, oh no, I've only had the model like a couple of years and it's disintegrated. This dreaded Mazakrot, if you've not heard about it, it's basically it's impure qualities in the zinc casting for the chassis of Locos and tender chassis that's produced out in China. And what the problem was found was in the manufacturing and the die casting process, there was an impurity in the chemicals used, and it was causing fatigue and cracks to appear in the actual zinc material itself used in construction. And hey presto, when you got your Loco and took it out of the box and it had a crack in, it fell apart and just crumbled like toffee. One of the Locos that suffered from that also was the Hornby Class 31, and this was a top end model, and that had major problems, and I know Hornby took a lot of those back very kindly from customers and either replaced the model or rectified the fault. So hopefully with this Crosti boiler from Hornby Railroad range, we're going to get a nice model that will be sound, and I think they overcame that problem now, because so far unless you buy a second-hand model, you don't really get that. But always be on the lookout for that. That's one thing that I always tend to be a little bit wary about, because that was a major Achilles heel in Hornby recently, was that Mazakrot problem. Anyway, with that being said, I still think Hornby's good. I like Bachmann as well. I like Lima stuff, and that's another cool thing, because if you notice that the Hornby Railroad range, their diesels, particularly when they brought out the Class 55 Deltics and Paddy, which I have, that's an old Lima model, because Lima went bust in Italy, and Hornby went over to Italy and acquired all the assets, all the tooling, all the moulding, and they rebranded it as Hornby Railroad range as part of their incorporated stock issue. One of the interesting things as well about the Railroad range is that, again, it just produces models that are for the younger people as well, and I think that's important, because you don't really want to give a young person a really mega expensive Loco like a Britannia with all the pipework on it, and unfortunately it gets destroyed. So again, thumbs up to Hornby for bringing out this range of models for everyone that's really sturdy, well made. And like I said, you can customise as well. You can do loads of work on it, like you've seen with the 9F that I weathered there. Loads of stuff you can do on it. Anyway, let's go run some trains. Right, okay, we're upstairs on the railway, and we've got both items running around. Here comes the early Crosti boiler. Magnificent, look at that. And she runs lovely as well. I've just not long just took her out the box and lubed her up for the first time ever, running on Bentley Park, which is my model railway. And my layout is set around about 1960 onwards, so these were withdrawn between 59 and 62, so that's about right. And she's running on third radius curves, and the track next to her is a second radius. So what I've had to do is, between the tender and the foot plate where they meet together, there's a little it's not adjustable, but it's flexible plate on the tender itself. I'll show you in a minute. I just simply had to gently press it down with a screwdriver to allow the clearances, but other than that, she's running really sweet. And I've got to go in at a reasonably slow pace so we can have a good look as she goes round as well. Beautiful. And then on track one, we've got a nice rake of these Clerestery coaches. And they look really nice. Well happy with those. They're going to look good actually behind my Metropolitan Volvo number 20. Right, so I've just got the Cleresteries and the little LMS Ginty parts of the platform just about fit in there. Before I go, I want to show you something. If you've got one of these at home, or you're going to get one, or if you have one already, if you notice between the tender and the foot plate, there's two plates there. What I've done with the tender is just gently bent that down slightly with a screwdriver. You're not going to break it, it's quite flexible. Obviously don't bend it too much, but a little gentle coaxing with a screwdriver just so it comes down a little bit below the foot plate area. So what that enables that to do is to take the third radius curves without derailing the tender and causing any interference there. But anyway, other than that, she's a good one and she runs really well, and I'm very, very happy. Anyway, this is one happy chappy saying goodbye to you all. Thank you for watching today. Thank you for all your support, and keep hitting the like and subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next video. And do take care to all of yourselves and your families out there. Stay safe, happy modelling, and I'll see you soon. Thanks for joining me. Take care. Bye bye.